Okay, do you know the double entries about provision for bad debt?
Double entry.
Yeah. As in whether you have to
Yes,
debit or credit, depending on.
provision for bad debt.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me do it this way, just to get you on track. Let me do it this way. So when we talk about this provision for bad debt, I'm sure Sir Joshua explained well to you that as business or as a business, you always have to expect that your debtors will not be able to pay some of their debt due to certain reasons like death. The debtor may go mad, or maybe the amount involved is very immaterial. So every business, it is expected that at the end of every year, you set aside some of your profit as a way of insuring against debtors who may not be able to pay. So let me cite an example. If Blessing, you are a businessman and you are doing business, and Asari is your debtor, Mr. Amo, I'm your debtor, and then let's say we are owing you 1,000 Ghana cedis each. As a businessman, you should have it at the back of your mind. Say, possible, say, Mr. Amo, something can happen and he will not be able to pay, right? So whatever profit you make, you try to set aside some of those profits so that in the event of that happening, you can use it to settle or cushion yourself. So that's the whole idea about provision. Now, in terms of the double entry, okay, so if you are paying attention closely, the focus is on your profit and loss account, and then the provision for bad debt account. But like I just explained, your profit and I will set to be aside, okay, to cater for that future possible expense, which is bad debt. So the question is, who do you debit, who do you credit? So let me tease your brain small. Profit has what balance? Does it have a debit or credit?
The debit balance.
Come again?
Debit balance.
Are you sure profit has a debit balance? Blessing, you owe me 1K when you come back from your vacation. So profit has a credit balance. Profit has a credit balance. Okay. So it goes with liabilities and capital. They all have credit balances. So don't mix that up again. So if our profit has a credit balance and we are taking some of that credit to set it aside in an account, then the double entry is very simple. That anytime you are creating provision, when you are creating or when you want to make provision for bad debt, this is the double entry that you have to pass. You will debit your profit and loss account, and then you credit provision for bad debt. Yes, Ethan, you are welcome. I hope you can quickly follow us through, but if you have any question, you can ask. So this is the double entry for making provision. Now, let me draw the T account so that it will make some lots of sense to you. So if this were to be my T account, and let me use that as my profit and loss account. So I've just indicated to you, say, profit has a credit balance. So if you have any profit in your books, the balance will be at the credit side. So let's say 1,500 there. Okay, so this is your profit and loss account. So profit have credit balance, please note that. And then losses have debit. So when you have a net loss, it will be at the debit side. Okay. So it is this profit that we want to deduct some. Okay, yeah, it is our profit in the art of said there, yeah. If somebody is not able to pay his or her debt and the debt becomes bad, we'll use that money set aside to kind of cushion ourselves as a business. Okay. So the double entry I just stated here, this is how it's going to play out. I don't know a credit balance. So if you want to deduct, you have to pass a debit entry. That is why we are debiting the profit and loss account, okay, with provision for bad debt. So let's let me open my account so that my words will show very well. Okay, so the corresponding credit entry will go into the provision for bad debt account. So let's just put in a figure. Let's say we are setting aside 200 cedis, okay, into our provision for bad debt account. So let me open that account too, so that we'll be doing both of them together. Provision for bad debt account. So in that account, you see the corresponding entry from the profit and loss account. Then the amount is 200. Okay, so if you are okay with this point, tell me. If not, let me know so that I'll go over again. So the first point I want you to note down is when you make provision, you debit profit and loss account and you credit provision for bad debt account, as you are seeing it on the screens here. So in the scenario I have on the screen, our profit was 1,500 and he had 200 to provision for bad debt account. Now, when you do that, it can happen, say, the subsequent years, you may have to increase the provision or decrease it. So let me cite another example for you to understand. So Blessing, it was Mr. Amwa and Asari who were owing you 1,000 Ghana cedis each, right? And you felt say Mr. Amwa may not be able to pay because or you teach until the Tatashibe that was our own Tisikano. So you made a provision, so okay, Mr. Amwa and made a profit we a better. Then it so happens that Mr. Amwa comes to pay, let's say 800 of the 1,000 cedis. Don't say naturally it will make sense for you to say so. Oh, nipa no kura we expect to own betua no waba betua, so you need to reduce the provision you made for his debt. I love using the transportation bit because it makes sense. When it's over school, definitely you go back home. So you look out for transport prices. The other is school now. Oh, you see from Aha to Accra, 50 Ghana. Into you made a provision for 50 Ghana and a DAO. Okay, so that provision of 50 Ghana, where did you get it from? From your pocket. Here, your pocket is your profit and loss account. Into what is can if you pocket and now they got to transport account, which is the provision for bad debt account. Now, it happens that transport has shifted from 50 cedis to 80 cedis. What does it mean? It means you have to increase your provision. Into blessing at that point, what will you do? You will still go back to your pocket, right?
Yes, sir.
So in this case, you still go back to your profit and loss account and deduct more money into that provision account because you need to increase it. So if you are increasing provision, I'm not calling Asari to answer questions because I'm expecting that you know this. Ethan, do you have any questions so far?
No, please.
So if you are increasing provision, fortunately for us, the double entry is the same as when you do the provision for the first time. Okay. So when you are increasing provision, you go back again, debit your profit and loss, and credit your provision for bad debt. Okay, so you see the increment is the same as when you are creating it, right? Now, it can also happen that you made provision for 50 cedis, but now a normal yakama, so the transport has decreased to 35. So it's a transport necessary to 35. It will make sense for you to decrease your provision, right? So if you are decreasing provision, it is the opposite of the increasing. So in that case, what we have to do, we are going to debit to provision for bad debt and credit the profit and loss account. Very simple. So when you are decreasing provision for bad debt, this time you are going to debit the provision for bad debt account and then you credit your profit and loss account. Very simple. So these are the three key double entries you have to understand. It should be in your head. Yeah, this one is not magic. You have to read it, practice, remember, then count through. So when you are given a question, what you do is you analyze whether you are creating it or you are increasing it or you are decreasing it. That's all that you have to do, right? So with this knowledge, I think we can now attempt the question, right? Okay, so let me read the question, explain, and then we'll come back to solve it after some few minutes. So King James has a policy of providing for doubtful debt. Doubtful debt is synonymous to bad debt at 10% on its yearly debtors balance. The following information was extracted from its ledgers for 2 years ended 31st December 2020 and 2021. So they have given you some debtors figure on 1st January 2020. You have credit sales, you have cash received, you have bad debt written off. And here you are being required to prepare debtors account, provision for bad debt, profit and loss account, and then balance sheet extract. Now, in fact, I don't know why Sir Joshua decided to mafia you guys this semester, but anyway, it's all good. So in this question, for you to be able to even prepare your provision for bad debt account and profit and loss account, you need your debtors account. And how many of us here can prepare the debtors account?
I can prepare it.
Okay, Asari can. Blessing, can you? What of Ethan? Ethan, can you prepare your debtors account?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Regardless, I think I have to take you through the debtors account. So the debtors account is nothing. We all know debtors, people who owe a business. So when you are preparing the account, you have to look at all the possible items that may increase their balance or reduce it. Okay, so if we are doing a gradual analysis of how debt has come about in a business, I think let me ask this: how does a customer become a debtor, or how does an individual become a debtor to a business? What happens for that to occur? Who is going to answer that? Ethan, would you try that?
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, it's when it's when it's like it's is 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 anyone who owns payment for goods or services.
Okay. For goods or services, what?
Giving like giving
Yeah. So
to
yeah. So
giving to an
all your struggle is simple credit sales. That's the first thing that makes somebody become a debtor to a business. That's when we sell to the person on credit, right? Okay, so I'm seeing when the customer takes a loan from a bank, yes, he becomes a debtor to the bank, but here we are referring to debtors of goods and not debtors to loans. So either, yeah, somebody can be a debtor to a bank for taking a loan, but we are looking at goods, as in buying and selling of goods, right? Okay. So credit sales is the first thing that comes to mind when you are looking at debtors. Now, when you sell the goods to them on credit, they can also return some of the goods. So the next thing is return inwards. Okay, you sell goods to the customer, he can return some of the goods to you. The third one is the person cannot owe you forever. He or she may pay cash or check. So cash or check received from that debtor. It's also another activity or another variable that affects debtors. The next one is possible that the person will not pay and you write off the debt. That's bad debt. Okay. Sometimes you write off the debt and then the person comes back to say, oh, please, I'll pay you. I don't know, be at the campaign waka so boy and I'm sure we took Canada, and then maybe 5 years later he comes back and say, I'm coming to pay your money. That's bad debt recovered. Bad debt recovered. And then sometimes your debtor may give you a check, you go to the bank and it will be dishonored. So dishonored check is also one of the variables. Now, all these items have the potential of increasing the balance or reducing it. Okay. And that is what you have to use to prepare the debtors account. debtors have debit balance. Debtors, they have a debit balance. So if any of these variable will increase their balance, we debit it. And if any of them would reduce their balance, we credit it. Okay, I think I'll pause here. So let me orient you small. The Zoom meetings will end after every 45 minutes. So when it does, just drink some water for like 9 minutes and then rejoin. Okay. But going forward, I have a way around it. I will show you. But today, let's take things small. So before you go, pick the double entries for creating, increasing, and decreasing. Okay. And then we are now looking at debtors, things that affect debtors. So after 9 minutes, reconnect with the same details and let's continue. At least if we finish this question, we can end the class and continue tomorrow. So I would expect you in the next 10 minutes. Thank you.